Latinos Out Loud podcast. Latinos, 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 Latinos. Yeah, that's what this is. Latinos Out Loud.
Yo, 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 Elohereros, Latinos Out Loud listeners and viewers. I am so excited for this episode. This is going to be a really special one. I know I say this every single episode, but this time I mean it. Okay? Okay, I mean it for every episode. That's a lie. I totally mean it for all 420 episodes that we have to date, but this is an extra special one. You guys, I've been talking about Lopez versus Lopez. We've had SELENIS LEYVA on the show. We had MAYAN Lopez on the show. I even recapped when I went to see the show taped in Los Angeles with a broken toe, okay? Last year before the Ambie Awards. And now it gives me such great honor to interview this amazing, successful woman. She's a showrunner, she's a writer, she's an executive producer of Lopez versus Lopez. If you're not standing up already, please stand up, put your dustbusters down, your dirt devils, or just use the Roomba right now. Let the robot do its thing. And please welcome Debby Wolfe to Latinos Out Loud. Hi, Debbie!
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
It's so good to see you, to have you. This is a long time coming. More so for me. I've been wanting to do this for so long. So thank you to all your people that made this possible. And thanks for taking the time. It's funny because Debbie's like, you're wearing a tank top, girl. How cold is it in New York? It's so cold outside, but inside in this building that's 100 plus years, it's equator, y'all. Okay. So all I'm missing is like one of those like Magda aluminum foil things for me to like pretend to catch some rays because I do feel like I'm on vacation in Santo Domingo right now. There are so many connections here, one of which I'm super proud. And this is like a very rare moment where I get to speak to another Jew-Latina. Okay, shout out to all the Jew-Tinas out there. Okay, right now I'm talking to El Salvador Jew, Debby Wolfe. Okay, and I'm representing right now for Santo Domingo. And you guys know my father is like Russian of Eastern European descent. So there's a lot of Mazel Tov and merengue. And
Yeah,
you were saying earlier,
I did pupusas with con pastrami.
and what I have to say to that is shalom. Shalom, but there's two she's here that are badasses. So shalom, everybody. Welcome to the show. Debbie, I've got a slew of questions for you, but I introduced you to the Eloeleros as showrunner, executive producer, writer. Can you please share with the Eloeleros exactly what your job is? Like, what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, well, a showrunner is the boss of the entire operation. So you're responsible for how the episode is written, looks, sounds, everything. You are in charge of 300 people suddenly. For me, it was like overnight. Like I hadn't been, first season was my first season as a showrunner of Lopez versus Lopez. And so it was kind of like running a marathon without any training. Like suddenly I was like thrown in and some days like I have like 15 minutes to eat a sandwich maybe just because I have to go from the writer. I go into the writer's room. I help break the stories with the writers in the episodes. I review every script. Then I go onto set and I'm on set with the actors and the directors, like making sure that we get everything that we need. Then I go into post-production. I work with the editors to edit the episode. And then I go into sound mix. And like that's when we get to see the final show all put together in the final sound mix, which is really special. And but and as I'm doing that, as I'm like writing an episode, there's an episode in production, and then there's like 10 episodes that need to get written. So
Wow.
it's constantly moving. It doesn't stop. It's a train. But I love it, and it took me a while to get used to the schedule and handling all of it emotionally and physically. But now I'm in third season, so I'm an old pro now. It's
Wow. You mentioned something so interesting, like mentally, like, so this is a multitasking thing. You've got to really have your checklist and due dates and go from, not that you're code switching, but you're modulating, you know, as a writer, as a boss, as HR, as finance, like you're touching a little bit of everything. Do you have any advice for those of us that also have to do this in our jobs? Maybe not what you do exactly per se, but how do you go about it mentally? What's your strategy?
I think I was raised by an immigrant Salvadorian mother, so I think I had the training from early on, like do this, do that, do this. Like there was a lot of multitasking that had to happen in the home.
Of course.
A lot of navigating me to different things all at once. And but yeah, I think it's definitely how do I handle it all? It's you have to take time for yourself once in a while just to breathe and appreciate and have gratitude for what you're doing. I try to keep to a schedule. I also the big lesson for me was that I wasn't in it alone. There was others that I could lean on. I'm very fortunate to have mentors in the industry. Gloria Calderon Kelly. I don't know if you've interviewed her yet. She's amazing.
Yes, she's been on the show. We love
Yeah,
her.
she's awesome. She's a mentor to me. I worked with her on One Day at a Time. I got to watch a female, like a Latina showrunner do her thing. And like that was great because up until that point, I had been working for a while and I didn't get to work for a female showrunner. And so knowing that, like seeing her do it was a lesson for me that I could do it too. And so yeah, and then I call her all the time. I'd be like, I'm panicking. Is this okay? Like what's going on? And like she would just kind of walk me through it because she had been through it herself. So really leaning on others that have gone through it is think is important. Like having your community and your support is so important.
I love to hear this so much because passing the baton is so important and just, gilding the path for those that are going to follow. Yes, Gloria's been on the show and it was a glorious time. She's such a badass in the industry and we continue to learn from her. Okay, so I've interviewed Selenis, Leyva on the show. I've interviewed Mayan Lopez on the show, and we discussed some of the things that makes Lopez versus Lopez stand out and so special. It's a show that celebrates our Latinidad, embracing of our stories. Mayan also shared that this started off the strength of her TikTok, okay? So it sounds like you have this very precise eye for content. Now, what was your process and vision at that point? And how did you get Lopez versus Lopez to where it is today, now in season 3, as you mentioned earlier? And just a part B to that, is there a message baked in there for aspiring writers like myself as far as an approach to workshopping our content?
Okay. Well, yeah, I saw mine's TikTok. It was during the pandemic actually, and like it was like 2 a.m. I was doom scrolling and I think funny Latinas is in my algorithm. So she came up and she's twerking upside down. She's like talking about her dad, like her daddy issues, and I was like, this is hilarious. Like George sued her, like she's like talking crap about her dad, and I was like, there's of mine here. And so I emailed like Bruce Helford actually, was another one of my mentors. He's also an executive producer on the show. He ran Roseanne for a while, Drew Carey show, legendary comedy writer. And I emailed him at that time and I said, this is how, and he actually the original George Lopez show, he created that. So
Mm.
I said, this is how we bring George Lopez back to network television. It's a show with his daughter. This is like the next era of George Lopez. She has like the same issues with him that he had with his mother in the show. And he's like, I agree. Like he saw the TikTok and he's like, I see it too. And so we just both saw it very clearly. And then when I met with George and Mayan, we clicked instantly. We felt like familia. Like it was just like an instant like shorthand. That's what I really love about being a Latina and working with other Latinos. Like in my room too, we have a lot of Latino writers. There's just this shorthand. Like we just like get each other and we relate to one another very quickly. And so that was part of that made the process very easy to develop because we were all on the same page about what this show should be. And by that point, I had been in rooms in 10 years and I had been pitching Latino family comedies for a while, but they had never hit, because it is very difficult to get a show on the air. It's like lightning striking to actually go from, I mean, so many pilots get written every year and very few get made, and then even fewer get made into a series. So, but we knew we had something special because this was from George and Mayan's real life and their real pain and their real joy. And everybody saw that every step of the way. When we first brought it into Universal, they saw that, NBC saw it. They ordered the script, then we went to pilot, then we went to series. Like every step of the way, everyone says is like, this is a special show. This is very real. This is very authentic. And it was just a beautiful experience. And in terms of like, you said as a writer, like what was the question if you remind me?
Like, because this is sort of your atypical approach, is there something baked in here? Is there a message for us aspiring writers as far as like how to workshop our content? Because it is so hard. Like you mentioned, it's even hard to get a pilot on your desk, I would presume. So, like, is social media a new outlet for writers to workshop content? And if so, are there some tools you can share with us?
I mean, yeah, I mean, just by sheer like our show was created off of TikTok. So yeah, like TikTok is a great way to express yourself. It's not gone yet, so keep using it.
Right.
There's Instagram also Reels. Yeah, I think social media is a great way to put your talent out there. I see so many talented Latinos on social media now. There's like a guy that I'm following. I can't remember his name, but he does this thing where he's like, Latinos love Cheetos. And then he goes into like like sort of like mental health crisis of Latinas. It's just like a switch he does. And it's just so funny because he's like talking about, stereotypes of Latinos, but then talking about something very real, which is our mental health crisis in our community. And so I'm very interested in like, he's somebody that I would love to meet with. Like, so I'm very like, I look constantly like on social media for inspiration. And I think everyone should, it's like you're tapped into the culture. Like we have this amazing tool to get tapped into like, what's trending, what's going on and using that to inspire us. But mostly like creating your own content should come from your heart. Like it should never come from a place of like, this is what I think people want to see, or like, this is like, action movies are in, I need to write an action movie. Like, you should never approach it that way. It should always come from the heart, like come from your life, from your experience of your friends, your history. Like, if it really like comes from you, that's what's going to shine. Like that's what people are going to connect with. And that's what I've always done throughout my career. Like my very first script was about my relationship with my mom. It was called Mommy Dearest, MAMI. And like it was, about like, sort of like the overbearing personality like of a Latina mom and like it was like I envisioned myself like working as like a writer, a sex writer for a magazine and having to deal with my sexually repressed mother. And so that was like the very first script I wrote, and it all came from
That's
a
so
very real
great.
place. So I think just mining your stuff like is the best way to start.
And from what I'm hearing, authenticity,
Mhm.
like just really delivering on who you are. The crux of me, the heart, my bread and butter is sketch comedy, like
Mhm.
SELENIS. Been a student at the Upright Citizens Brigade, diversity scholarship recipient, and like I just can't let go of being me, like 1,000% me. And I know I probably don't appeal to everybody, like my comedy could be raw sometimes. Like, I write about daddy issues and dildos. Like, there's just everything. Okay. It spans the gamut. But I love your message of like, what was that? What was
Those are two of my favorite things.
that? Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. Woo! Oh, I've got a whole collection, not of daddies, okay? But we'll save that for a different episode,
Yeah.
okay? Speaking of episodes, guys, I had the pleasure of being part of the live studio audience for an episode of Lopez versus Lopez in season 2 and watching the talent shine, seeing the crew get busy, watching this fabric, this beautiful quilt, this beautiful Latino quilt come together in front of my eyes was so freaking awesome. I'm so glad I went. Seeing Bryce shine, this little child actor that has the chops of 100-year-old, if you ask me. But the youth of
I
a
know.
little boy.
We joke all the time. I'm like, he's 35. There's no way that this kid is 9. I don't believe it.
No way. Like what he emotes is way beyond his years. He's incredibly just skillful, talented. This is Bryce Gonzalez that we're talking about. George Lopez's improv technique. Every take was a different joke. He's a joke cannon. Selenis LEYVA's sketch comedy chops come to surface. But seeing the multiple takes and the different jokes done live on set and flawlessly is just mind-blowing. I want to know what Debbie Wolfe feels when an episode wraps, and what does that do to your creative process?
Oh, tired. After after I go home and collapse, because we have to wake up the next morning actually and have a table read for the next episode because we shoot on Tuesday nights, and then Wednesday we got to come back in for the next one. So I don't have time to even process it, but I do try in the moment, and it is a beautiful thing. I have so much gratitude. Like not everybody gets to do this. Like I am living my dream. This is the dream that I had as a little girl for myself. So I'm sitting on that set, like watching, like, and we wrap the episode, and I walk around. I thank all the crew, and I thank the cast, and um, I'm just so grateful because everybody is a part of that show. Every one of my crew, all 300 members of my crew, make that show what it is, and I'm so grateful to all of them. It really is a collaborative process, the talent and the writers, like we work together throughout the week. We actually rewrite the episode 3 different times before it gets to shooting. So we by that point we've collaborated and made it the best we can be. So like I just know I am confident at the end of the wrap of every episode that we did our best. And I'm just so appreciative of the teamwork that everyone brought, and I tell them the next morning, so there's a production meeting the next morning, and I remember and I make sure to thank everyone for just like kicking ass because we have the best crew in the business. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, and I was sitting next to somebody from finance at NBC, and she was smiles the whole time. I'm like, there's so much love here because you don't always get the love from the business office, right? But
Yeah.
NBC finance next to me was like, yes, yes, and yes. They were
Yeah.
a good time.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually learned that on One Day at a Time too from Gloria, and also Mike Royce. They ran the show together, and they created this environment of love, and and it should be that way. We're making a comedy, we're making people laugh, and our show in particular is about healing, and I think we hope that the takeaway from Lopez versus Lopez is that strained relationships can be healed. It just takes acceptance and therapy and like a lot of conversations. But healing is possible, and and so I think everyone feels that on set too, that we know that we're part of something that's bigger than ourselves, and I think that's why there's so much love.
There really is. I failed to mention that Al Madrigal was also a guest on this show way back when, and just how all of these different beautiful souls have been brought together to create this magic. It's really fun to watch. Okay, I've got a few more questions here. So we discussed this a little bit. You and I are both Jew-Tinas, okay? Whoop whoop. My dad is of Eastern European descent, Jewish. My mom hails from La República Dominicana, represented right now. Um, I want to know if your Juvadorian upbringing and culture collision creates any stories that you write about or themes or plots that you introduce into your creations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you felt this too. Is very confusing. Being brought up with two very different, but then they're similar in a lot of ways. I think Jews and Salvadorians like are all about family. Is very important. Very straightforward, very honest. A lot of eating. But I think like it was a culture clash. Like I always like remember like for example, like I remember like when I got caught smoking pot as like a teen, as we do. I think it was oregano. I don't even think it was real pot. And my mom, my friend's mom, like told my mom, and my mom was at work, and she called me, and she's like, "You've been doing bad things." Like she's like, she she did the typical mom thing. It's like, "What have you been doing? Is there something you want to
Mm,
tell me?" They
the
always do.
probing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally she's like, she's like, "You've been smoking weed, you're going to die, your life is over, you're destroying everything." And she's like, "Just wait till your father comes and talks to you about this. Like he's gonna be so upset." And then I talked to my Jewish dad from Miami, who was a hippie in the 70s, and he's like, "Oh, you smoke pot?" He was like, "Can you get me some?"
That is amazing. It's I envision it like one of the similarities that I remember is like I would go to the Dominican side of the family, and I've always struggled with my weight. Like I'm all over the place, okay? And I remember like my Dominican side would be like, "Pero qué está comiendo? ¿Qué tú estás comiendo, diantre?" And they would tell like look at my mom and be like, "¿Qué le está dando a ella? Bizcocho pa empezar el día." And
Yeah.
then I'd go to the Jewish side of the family. It's like, "Ay, gewalt, what are you feeding her, Alan?" You know, like goodness gracious. But then at the same time, they would both compliment, like, but your curves look good, sweetheart. That's what the men like. They like the meat and the potatoes. You know, it's just all over the place. Also, I found both cultures are loud. Thus,
Yes.
the name of this show,
Very loud.
Latinos Out Loud, could have
Yeah.
easily been called Jew Girls Out Loud. Same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Both
my
sides.
right? I'm so glad that we shared this experience, and I'm not the only one out there.
Yeah, the other thing too is about they tell you, that they make comments about your body, but then they like if you don't finish, God forbid you not eat. God forbid you not eat what they put on the table.
Right.
So it's
Here's a plate filled with tostones. Eat them
yeah,
all, or it's an insult to your grandmother.
yeah. And then the next day you look kind of fluffy.
Right. Maybe because you gave me 5,000 tostones
Yeah,
yesterday.
exactly.
Do you ever put that together? Um, Speaking of putting things together, your career is really one to follow. Nerd alert, I've been following the trajectory of your career because I mean, I'm trying to attain something similar. So you are a product of the Writers on the Verge program from NBC, which is so amazing. You guys know these incubator programs, they're really good. I'm the product of the National Hispanic Media Coalition, the Latinx Screenwriters program. It's given me so many benefits, and this happened years ago, and I'm still reaping benefits. So I kind of want to know from you, like, do you encourage other writers to pursue these incubator programs, and like what other gifts has the NBC Writers on the Verge program given to you?
Oh, it was amazing. It was an incredible like the very first program that helped me was Nalip. Nalip sent me to like
Whoop
Mexico.
whoop.
Went to New Mexico and we did this amazing writers retreat. I had like incredible mentors that I still talk to this day. And then after that, the NBC program, I actually applied twice. Like I got rejected the first time. I was a
Look
finalist.
at that.
Yeah. And then I got in the next time. So just don't give up, like and make sure that like, and don't keep the same script. Like if you have like don't keep using the same script, like write something new or take a look at your script and be like, why is this not, connecting? Like why, and have somebody look at it that's a professional writer, like do what you need to do, like and don't give up in the first rejection because these programs are amazing. NBC program, they got me my first staff gig on Whitney Cummings show. Season 2 was my very first job, and they helped me get it. And then they helped me get my agent too as well. And
Wow.
it was just an incredible experience. Like they taught us like how to behave in a writer's room, and then also how to like sell ourselves to network executives. Not everyone knows how to do that. Not everyone knows how to like pitch themselves. But it's a skill, and you have to learn how to do it. And so I really do encourage those programs. They're incredible. They open up a door. If you don't know anyone, I didn't know anyone really when I came out to Hollywood. So my connections were all through these programs, and everybody that I've connected to in these programs, I still talk to this day.
Wow, that's really encouraging to hear. Yeah, you guys listen to this advice because there are so many programs. All you've got to do is scour your Instagram feed if you're looking to break in the industry, and they Nalip and NHMC, NBC, they're all out there for the taking. It's good to hear like a real life example. So what's next for Debbie Wolfe? Can you give us a teaser? Can you tell us what you're working on? Just a little hint, just a little sancochito, algo.
Uh, well, what we need is everyone to tune in to these final episodes of Lopez versus Lopez, and also to stream it on because we don't have a season 4 yet. Season
We
3,
need this.
we need this. So
We
I'm
need this.
manifesting a season 4 on this show. So we need everyone to watch. If you can't catch it live on NBC at 8:30 on Fridays, then you can also stream it on Peacock and stream it on Netflix. We just need everyone to watch the show, and we'll find out about a season 4 probably in April, May. And then I'm also just developing projects. I'm in development right now for a Latino family project that I'm really excited about, workplace family comedy. And I can't talk too much about it, but I'm really crossing fingers I can get it made, because I just think that, especially right now, we need more Latino representation, positive Latino representation on TV. So that's my goal as a showrunner, is just to keep grinding and get more of us on television. There's so many talented Latinos like yourself that,
Oh,
need
thank you.
on television. So I'm going to keep pushing for that.
Thank you. Thank you for that compliment. And also, thanks for pushing. This is the time. Eloeleros, you have homework. If you haven't watched Lopez versus Lopez, I'm not friends with you anymore because it's so funny. Like, if you don't laugh your ass off, send me an email. I'll come and wash your car. That's how, like, I guarantee it's funny. This is my last question, which I ask many of my guests, Debbie. So picture this. 2025. You have a young Debby Wolfe right in front of you, okay? The Debbie of the past, the Debbie that's applying to the Writers on the Verge program. Knowing what you know now, what are some words of advice that you have for her and all the other young Debbies out there listening right now?
I would tell her, take antidepressants. Like, stop sweating so much. Um, no, in all seriousness.
A prescription, please. Okay, we don't need you going out there to the black market, but
Yeah,
they're
I think
available by prescription for sure.
Yeah, I think like many Latinos, like I think a lot of us struggle with anxiety,
Yeah.
generational trauma and all that. Like one thing that really helped me was going to therapy and, becoming self-aware. I think that makes you a better writer. So that is like one piece of advice, like, and there is many like affordable options now for therapy online. And the first therapist I saw, I think was like it was like scale on scale, so like I paid like $25 a session.
Okay.
So that's advice I have. And then just keep at it, like don't give up, if you really, and you have to really want it. I gotta say, you gotta really want to work in television, and it be like your ultimate dream. If there's anything else you can do that, because that's easier. Because this is not an easy path. It's going to be a roller coaster. It's up and down. Like I don't even know what my future this year holds, honestly. Like, so you got to be prepared to have like an unstable career, but that's why you have to really have a passion for it. For really have a passion for writing and working in television if you want to do it, and hold on to that and don't give up, because if you don't give up, you'll make it.
I love that. That's really great advice. Debbie Wolfe, thank you so much. I have a bad habit of calling people by their first and last name. It's just, I don't know why I do that. Debbie, that's such great advice. And I know that will speak to so many of us. This is, I mean, it's an electrocardiogram of a journey. There are these peaks and valleys and big successes, medium successes, and then the days where you just get rejections from comedy festivals. Just got one yesterday. That's okay. I got back up on the horse. I'm like, you know what? It's not gonna make me stop anything. And if anything, it's gonna make me want the next one even more.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time here. Thank you for your words. I know we went a little bit over. I really appreciate every minute that you've spent with me today. Would you like to drop your social handle? Do you want people to follow you? Because if not, it's cool. It's up
No,
to
no, I
you.
I have a public Instagram. It's at Debby Wolfe, DEBBY WOLFE. So yeah, you can follow me there.
And guys, please watch Lopez versus Lopez. Let's make this show a
Yeah,
tremendous success.
season
Thank you
4,
so
let's
much.
go.
Yes, let's do this. And please, the La Puerta Está Abierta, please come back and dance the horror with me. As you see, I dress like a horror as
I
well.
will, I
Um,
will.
and thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Eloeleros, this has been an amazing episode. Drop the comments, like, subscribe, do what the kids tell you to do. On that note, we out.
Bye.
It's the Latinos Out Loud podcast.